when you look up at the nighttime sky, you see hundreds of stars. No, thousands of stars. No, that's not right either. Millions of, no, that's still not right. Billions, yes, billions of stars in our own galaxy by itself. However, some of those stars are gathered in clusters, and they're called globular clusters. I'm going to tell you what I know about globular clusters starting right now. Welcome to Heavenly Backyard Astronomy. I'm Pat Prokop, and I'm in the Heavenly Backyard Garden. And if you like garden videos, stick around, because at the end of this astronomy video, I'm going to show you some views of the Heavenly Backyard Garden. You know, lately we've been under a lot of cloud cover and rain here in Savannah, and I have not been able to open up the telescope over the last 2 weeks because of all this rain we're getting. But the flowers are still sure looking great, and the grass is green. Well, that's one good thing about all this rain. However, the sun has actually come out. It's been cloudy and gloomy over the nighttime hours. We've had some days with sunshine, but I totally missed Venus as it moved out of the picture now. I wasn't able to capture it because there was just too many clouds. I couldn't see through the clouds. But Venus now is it's right next to the sun, so it's very difficult to see. It's only 26 million miles away. But anyway, so much for that. Jupiter and Saturn and Mars are rising around midnight. Well, Jupiter and Saturn shortly before midnight right now. Mars is rising around 2 o'clock in the morning local time. And they're going to be dominating the nighttime sky now for the next several months. So, you know, get your telescopes ready to point at the big planets. And the bright Mars is getting redder and redder by each night. Anyway, the globular clusters, here's what I know. You know, they contain hundreds of thousands of stars, a couple of them up to 1 million stars, and they're almost as old, in some cases perhaps as old as the universe itself. These are stars that formed very early in the evolution of our universe and our galaxy as well. But they don't reside exactly in the galactic plane of the galaxy. They kind of float to the top and to the bottom and around, kind of like an oblong spherical shell in the galaxy itself. And some of them perhaps came from tidal forces coming off of the Magellanic Clouds and the other dwarf galaxies that are a little bit farther out orbiting our galaxy as well. But the clusters themselves are just fascinating. When you look at them, you see these hundreds of thousands of stars. Now, when you look at them with a small telescope or a pair of binoculars, they look just like a fuzzy star up in the sky. But when you look at them with a little bit larger telescope, you can actually resolve the stars and see the number of stars. A lot of the times the stars are yellow gold color because those are population 2 stars, or the first generation type stars that have low metals in them. They're composed mostly of hydrogen and helium, and they're burning at a cooler temperature, hence the existence of their long lifetime. The cooler the star burns, the longer it lives. The hotter it burns, of course, the shorter lifespan of the star. Our star is in the middle somewhere between red and blue. It's a very yellow-green star. And the lifetime of our sun is going to be around 10 billion years. Right now it's what, about 4.3 billion years old, so it's got a while to go yet, so we're okay there. Anyway, many of the stars in the globular clusters are, gosh, you know, over 10 billion years old.
So this is what I've learned so far, what globular clusters really are. Well, first of all, their shape, they're spherical, like a big ball of stars held together by their own gravity. How old are they? The age? Anywhere from 10 to 13.8 billion years, basically the age of the universe. What type of stars compose of these globular clusters? Well, mostly first generation population 2 stars, that is, low metallicity type stars. In other words, mostly containing hydrogen and helium. Number of stars, hundreds of thousands of stars in globular clusters, some all the way up to about 1 million stars. Location, they're floating above and below the galactic plane. Formation, the early evolution of the galaxies, the time that most of these the globular clusters developed. Some also developed from tidal forces from the Magellanic Clouds nearby. Also, some came from the dwarf galaxies nearby as well that escaped. and were captured by the Milky Way galaxy. How many of them? There are about 150 known floating around the Milky Way galaxy. However, more are not visible that are probably in existence.
So if you have any comments, leave those below as well. I try to answer all my comments that come in, and if you don't comment, I can't give you an answer on those. Anyway, thank you for watching the Heavenly Backyard Astronomy. I'm going to show you a lot of the different globular clusters that I have seen over the last couple of years with the telescopes here in the garden. And there are some spectacular ones that you can see with a small telescope. And right now, M13, the great Hercules cluster, is very visible, and M53, another spectacular one, and M5. All these are wonderful globular clusters. Another one, I think M22, and of course now the smaller one that I took last night, M80 in the Scorpius constellation. That's another great globular cluster. So we have entered into the globular cluster time frame. We're moving out of galaxy season and getting ready for nebula season, or is it nebulae season, which a lot of the summer skies we see a lot of color with the gaseous emissions and absorption nebulae that will be viewable in the next several months. So anyway, thank you for watching Heavenly Backyard Astronomy. And unless you need rain, and I don't think we need any for a while here in Savannah, clear skies. The sky now is clear, and it was clear again last night for the first time in the 2 weeks, and I was able to uncover this telescope here. This is the Orion Newtonian Maksutov 190 millimeter Astrograph telescope. It has a viewing of f5.3, I believe, and I pointed it up toward the southern sky and the southeast, and I was able to pick up M80. It's not a bomb. Don't want to say that. I was able to pick up Messier 80 in the southern sky, a globular cluster. Now, there's many globular clusters around, and as a matter of fact, I think there's about 150 known globular clusters floating around our Milky Way galaxy. But the question is, what are they, and when did they form? And how old are the stars in these clusters? Are they galaxies in themselves? Could they be dwarf galaxies orbiting around the Milky Way? Parts of the Magellanic Clouds that are orbiting the Milky Way galaxy. It's truly a strange phenomenon, but when you look up in the sky, you can see them with the small telescopes and binoculars as funny You can see them as fuzzy little stars, but when you get a larger telescope, you can actually break down and see the clusters of stars that are forming within these clusters themselves, we call globulars. Anyway, here's what I know, and it's not a lot.